Hello and welcome. It is the Aspect of Gaming podcast number 2, and this month of March 2014, it's all about events, how to host events, how to deal with challenges within events. We're just trying to help people in general dealing with events for video games in New Zealand, sort of get used to them and have the resources to build them themselves. And we want to try and share the knowledge that we have. And joining us today is the University of Auckland Video Game Club and Ian Wynn. You guys probably know both of them pretty well from the UAV. We do have Victor, Raymond, and Dominic. Say hi, guys.
Hey.
We got
Hey
Raymond
guys,
there.
how you doing?
There he is. And then, yes, Ian Wynn from the starter of Lowland Z, now out there doing a whole bunch of other gaming stuff for the industry. Hey, Ian.
Hey man, really excited to be here.
Awesome. And then me and Kier from Aspect of Gaming. I am Snowy Padre, Theo, otherwise known as Snowy Padre. I was going to go the other way around, that would have been weird. But Kier as well, Crash Ghost. How's it going?
Hey man, how's it going?
Let's
get some stuff said.
It is up indeed. Alright. Now, there is a little bit of lag currently for the stream, so I'm sorry if there's a little bit of downtime every now and then. The local recording is fine, so the local recording of the event is going to be up on YouTube, maybe SoundCloud, whatever. It's going to be really, really fine. But there may be problems with listening to it live. You can still ask your questions. They will still be answered. You'll still have the recording. Kicking everything off, I'm just going to update everyone on the upcoming events for Aspect of Gaming and a few other things going on, and showing you guys our video game events calendar. I'll see if I can post this in the text chat of, yeah, it seems to be working, I think. Oh, the link didn't link properly. But yeah, anyway, that's the link to the Aspect of Gaming website and the video game events calendar, where we list all the video game events in New Zealand that we find, so that you guys can go on there and you can easily find it yourselves as well. Hopefully that's going to be on. And then random YouTube link by someone in the test chat. Thanks. In the Twitch chat. What? Somebody please tell me what the hell that is. Please watch, please laugh. Nah, not going to happen. Anyway, upcoming events on the video game event calendar, mainly from us and what we're involved in. Just a little breakdown there. Next weekend on April 6th is the Oceanic Region League of Legends Autumn Regional Grand Finals. That was a long-winded name and I kind of got it wrong. But yes, the OCE Autumn Regionals Grand Finals for League of Legends. And we're going to be hosting that at the Bluestone Room up in Auckland starting 1 p.m. up until about 6, I think. And that's also going to be happening, I hear, in Wellington and Dunedin as well. They're still trying to secure a venue for each of them and put on the hosting and stuff for it, but apparently it is going to happen, and we're going to have those up on Aspect of Gaming events calendar soon. So yes, we are doing heaps of stuff for Wellington and Dunedin. Hopefully Christchurch. I'm in touch with a couple of guys in Christchurch who do bar crafts as well, so we'll see if we can bring more stuff there as well. It's going to be awesome. Next, coming up for April the 12th, we're going to see the StarCraft 2 NA and Europe WCS regionals for this year, the regional grand finals for each of those regions. We'll see if we can cover both of those regions. We want to do a big barcraft for it, but it's probably just going to be small, low-key, trying to get people in and watching esports, and that's actually something that we're focusing on. Sort of mini barcraft events now, but lots more of them, so you guys get a lot more esports, a lot more social events going, and a lot more fun. And then for things like the Dota TI3 and League Grand Finals and things like that, big events for those, and the WCS Grand Finals, hopefully we'll do a big event for that, but they usually put it on during exam season, exam week. It's just horrible timing for New Zealand. Yay for Blizzard. Anyway, after the StarCraft 2 WCS Regionals in April the 12th, I believe it is, or it could be 13th, Ping Zero is coming up, Ping Zero 44 on April the 18th. So that's a big LAN happening up in Auckland, whole bunch of computers, bring your own, play a couple of tournaments. I think they've currently got a $5,000 prize pool for all of their tournaments collectively, which they're still building up. So really, really wicked stuff going on there. They've got a whole bunch of spot prizes, and we're helping put on the League of Legends tournament for that event. And there's also a Dota 2 one and a couple of other ones. There's actually a tournament or codes being given out for a game that isn't released yet as well. So if you pick up a ticket for Ping 044, you're going to get a code for a specific game. Can't remember what it is. It has been released. If you go to the Ping Zero page, you'll be able to find it. And after that, actually, a little bit further on, which we haven't been listed, I just want to tell you about, Auckland is going to be happening. There's going to be an Auckland coming up, which is another big LAN up in Auckland, and we're going to be doing a Dota 2 and StarCraft 2 tournament for that. And hopefully we'll be joined by LolNZ. They're doing the League of Legends tournament as well, which sounds pretty good. And another bit of exciting news for Dota 2 fans out there, online tournament coming up from us on April the 26th. The event is up on the Aspect of Gaming page. That's going to be pretty cool. Looking really forward to that. We're trying a system where you guys just sign up a team for $10. That $10 goes directly into the prize pool, and you compete for it. And it's as simple as that. So, yeah, we're trying to do it at not-for-profit kind of thing and just do it at cost. And it doesn't really cost us anything. It just takes our time, and then you guys put in the money, and you win it. A little prize pool. It's pretty cool. We have heard that we may get... we can apply apparently for Valve support and see if we can get it an official Dota 2 tournament, but I'm not too sure about that yet. Apparently it'll increase the prize pool or something crazy, but no confirmation, but I'm going to look into that. It's going to be fun. And then the last thing I just want to talk about for upcoming events for Aspect of Gaming is the Warcraft 3 mini LAN. Now we're going to try across 2014 to do a whole bunch of very small LANs up in Auckland, and there are a few planned for Wellington as well, and I think Matt has some planned for Dunedin, not too sure. But we're going to try and do small LANs based around single games where we achieve a certain objective. For example, if we did a LAN for a single day based on PlanetSide 2, we'd get all of you guys in and competing to, working together to take over all continents within the planets of, I think it's Auraxis, in a single day for a specific faction on a specific server. So we'd just do a huge Zerg rush of players at a LAN to take over all of that. And of course we'd get a good internet connection in a good space. It'll be a hell of a lot of fun. But the next one coming up, the next mini LAN that we've planned, is about Warcraft 3. It's about trying a whole bunch of unique maps out. It's about getting together, having fun, bit of old school LAN gaming. We may have internet there, but it's going to be very much focused on the LAN aspect of it. So do watch out for that. It's going to be announced soon. I think we're planning that for May the 3rd, but nothing set in stone yet, except for the fact that it is going to happen. That is set in stone, and we've got all the systems in place to make it happen. So that's upcoming events for Aspect of Gaming, and for a few things that we know happening in Auckland in the next month or two. And again, you can go check that out on the Aspect of Gaming website, aspectofgaming.co.nz. So yeah, that's upcoming events. Now moving on, I just want to talk to everybody joining us here today from the University of Auckland Video Game Club and Ian Wind about a single event that each of them have done, and just a little bit about how they put it on, video game events specifically, how they've put it on, the challenges they faced, and just little things. So I'm actually going to start off with Victor from the UAV up in the top left of the guest screen there. How's it going, buddy?
Doing okay.
Putting you straight on the spot. Yeah. All good. Anyway, yeah, just continue. Tell us a little bit about an event that you've put on and the challenges and stuff that you sort of faced.
Last year around, I think it was on the 16th of September, we hosted a GTA 5 release party for JV Hi-Fi just down on Queen Street. We hired out a room at the University of Auckland. We had a bunch of swag and videos and everything that we got from JV Hi-Fi. At the start, it seemed like a bit stressful. Sort of just like having to make sure that everyone gets prizes, make sure that we kind of coordinating with about a dozen people or so, trying to make sure that we've got all the consoles, all the TVs, all of everything to make it look amazing and to get decent publicity for JB Hi-Fi as well as the launch of GTA 5. At the start, I admit I was feeling a bit timid, not sure that I could trust people to get stuff done, but in the end, people managed to pull through, and I'd ask them to do stuff, and they would, I'd come back and say, like, the back wall, which was supposed to be like kind of covered with posters and stuff, came back, and it was just amazing. Shout out to my mate Todd. I don't know if he's listening to this, but he did an amazing job on that.
Go Todd. Todd Griffin Blair.
You were saying, Theo?
Oh no, I just said Todd Griffin Blair because he's awesome. General shout out to him.
Yeah, but
and a bane to my team.
Oh, that Ingress love. Anyway, continue, Victor.
Yeah, I got to say that was probably one of the first events that I managed to put up. It was an amazing opportunity that actually Theo managed to get for us from JBI5, so kudos to you, Theo. But yeah, it kind of helped me sort of cement my
Oh,
cars.
gotta
That-
love
So
that
that
kind
just
of thing
happens.
going past. That sounded
so
awesome.
now I know what I'm doing.
That VTech just kicked in, yo.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Anyway, thanks for that, Victor. Just moving on to Dominic. I've heard you run a crap load of lands for the UAV, and you've done a pretty good job so far.
Yeah, I host lands for the University of Auckland, and at first we started off small, and then like as more people joined the club, we got more and more people. And I'll just talk about an event I did a while ago for the club, and previously we had lands at this venue before, but this time it was much bigger. Like there was 3 times as many more people, and yeah, it was just huge. And we eventually got kicked out because there's just so many people, so much noise. Even though they said like it was fine, like for previous events. So, moral of the story is like to never assume anything and make sure you have like all the important parts of the event planned and ensured, you know?
Super
Yeah.
good advice. Super damn good advice. Yeah, moving on to Raymond. What events have you hosted, and what do you think about them generally?
I guess the most I guess the most interesting thing was sort of running the club's expo stall for the UAV during club's expo week, first week back at uni, and that was in a way a nightmare. Just all the gear we had to manage and everything, but like it's like when everything comes together, uh, it just it's pretty good, and you you learn to deal with all the minor setbacks, which I guess is like the thing that I came away with that from that whole experience.
Yeah, and I did ride you a bit hard on that one, I think.
Yeah. Oh,
My bad.
like man, like I think every morning was like a nightmare, and then like every afternoon, packing everything up was also a nightmare. But then it started to like work out, and yeah, I mean, I also like was pretty used to like the sort of all the like I mean I've worked at events for the university, and so like like where like I know where to put things and where to get things around there, so like home turf advantage for that.
Awesome, awesome indeed. Now, Ian, you of course have organised massive events, the likes of Digital Nations League of Legends tournament, which was absolutely phenomenal. What do you have to say on the topic?
Well, in regards to digital nations, things like that, digital nations in particular, you were involved with the casting, and there was a huge responsibility just because it was given to us really late. Something happened beforehand, and we had to come in and do our best to put together whatever we could. So there was a lot of time spent putting together the equipment, making sure that everything required to produce it was present, and everything was working at the highest level of efficiency, so that nothing could go wrong. Trying to find the best ways to present it, because it wasn't sort of what most people here would think would be a normal sort of event like a regular LAN. It was more or less a staged presentation with Digital Nations, and we had to rehearse. I mean, I'm pretty sure Theo remembers having to rehearse and practice commentary,
Over and over and over
practice.
again.
Yep. Oh, it just didn't end, and we had to make sure we had it down to a T. If everyone remembers Jeff, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep, and Jeff scripted the beginning of the cast, and then from there on, we had to improvise and talk about things between every 3 minutes, the 3 minute delay, and entertain the crowd, make sure everyone's there. And when it happened, we put it together. We had some difficulties at the start, but I mean, like, it's about keeping calm, making sure that you understand the totality of it, understanding that everything that might go wrong, like, you need to know how it's going to go wrong and how you can fix it, and just keeping a cool head on the day, and everything will fall into place. Trust the people that you've given tasks to, and trust that they can accomplish what they need to accomplish, and everything will just fall into place, I guess.
Do you remember the absolutely sign, Ian?
Stop it, please. If anyone doesn't get that joke, if anyone doesn't get it, it's because during the cast we were so sort of pushed to practice so much that me and Theo used to. I'm not sure it was me and you, or was it just me saying absolutely every?
I think
two
I had a
words?
different thing, but it was less noticeable. It was yeah.
Yeah, I said absolutely every two words. Like Jax was absolutely doing absolutely so much absolute damage, and it got really bad. I had to fix it, obviously, but yeah.
It was a great experience, and we all learned from it, and we all came away with a hell of a lot more than we went in. It was a damn beautiful event. Anyway, last but not least, Kia, you've put on a whole bunch of bar crafts and helped me with a whole bunch of tournaments as well. What do you have to say on the subject? Just a little bit.
Yeah, every experience is a learning one. Definitely, you come away with something new that you've learned. Like one of the biggest things is product placement that I've had to really think about. Is I remember pulling off the Fox's Ale House barcraft with you, Theo, and I mean I remember walking away from that thinking, we did a good job, but we focused all the placement way too much. We had a couple of technical issues with all the data cables, and so we had to route for that, and I had to nearly organise an electrician to rebuild their master switchboard because apparently we blew it. But actually that was one of their illegal power boards that they had that actually blew, caused by plugging in a single laptop. And yeah, I think that was the biggest thing, is that the sponsors that you actually really, really have to make sure that their name is there. You have to keep repeating it. And just a team behind you that will do everything, from the menial stuff to the really important stuff to being at the front of the whole crowd, and you're that one guy that's speaking and trying to keep everyone entertained when there's technical difficulties, or in that case also running the competition that we had, which is we had one person running that competition. It was Victor, and he did a stellar job. He figured out what needed to be done and organised it, and I just sort of floated around making sure that everyone was doing their job and that the team was being looked after, food and drink wise, and all that sort of thing. And that's a big thing as well, as your volunteers. But yeah, that's sort of what I've come away with it. As well as just every event you learn something new.
Yeah, I can't stress that enough as well, and that's definitely great insight. Now that we've sort of all had general introductions, that is going to be on the recording, but apparently we are having some live difficulties, so I hope that is going to be resolved. It looks like it has been. Hooray! So people can listen in live. Just to give you a very quick summary, we do have the University of Auckland Video Game Club here. Victor, Dominic, and Raymond, 3 event coordinators going on there. Raymond actually now heading up the UAV in 2014. And Ian Wind, of course, creator of LOL NZ and bringer of some amazing tournaments, namely the Digital Nations League of Legends tournament, which is just phenomenal. And me and Kia, I am Theo, Snowy Padre, otherwise known as, from Aspect of Gaming, and Kia Crash Ghost from Aspect of Gaming, who put on a whole lot of Barcraft events last year. So a hell of a lot of experience sitting in this podcast, and we've got a whole lot of events under our belts all between us. It's insane. And everyone's just been talking a little bit about their personal experiences about events, so you didn't miss too much, but you can listen to this in the recording, which we will have up not too long after this event. But let's move on now. We're just going to talk about events and general talks about events in general, and I'm going to start that talk off with the idea of setting up, because of course, when everybody comes and thinks of an idea, there's a lot of hectic excitement going on about ideas for video game events. People tend to go, hey, here's a video game event, let's do it this way, let's get this, and just go on and do it. It's quite dangerous, and it can end up being one of two things. I think the first thing being you can learn from the experience, which is great, or you can just dump the experience, and then people coming to the event will be too disappointed to join your next event. It's quite sad. So what I'd suggest is sort of at the very beginning, event plan. Just write out an event plan in Word about starting off with the overall idea of your event and the different elements, the big picture basically, and then drill into the smaller elements, nitty gritty of the big picture, and start fleshing it out a bit more. I guarantee you, if you put it down on paper, it'll help a hell of a lot. After that comes sort of venue and resources planning and contacting sponsors and getting information, and then only then do you want to move on to creating the event page and the space and sign-ups and information and releasing that to the public. It's got to all be very solid and very right and very nice. Get the idea flowing, but you really need to secure it. What do you guys think about this, about setup and event planning?
Definitely. I think the biggest hurdle is actually sitting down, getting on that phone, hey, and calling the places to do it. You just call them up and say, hey, can you do this? How much? Whatever. And that's for a lot of people, that can be a real big issue. And then, of course, the other massive issue is if you're going for sponsorship, is actually approaching those parties and knowing how to approach them. You've got to actually go up to them with a solid plan. You can't just go, hey, I've got this great idea. You have to go, this is what I have to go on. This is currently what the industry is doing. And this is where you want to be. You've got to really sell it to them. You can't just say, we'll get a few people. You got to be like, no, we're going to get this many people at a minimum, and we're going to drink and we're going to laugh. We're going to have a great time, and your name's going to be plastered up there the whole time, and we're just going to be talking about you the whole time. And it's really about capturing them more customers, and that's where we sell the sponsorship type stuff. With Playtech, that's been something that we've really pushed over the last few years. We shop there ourselves. We don't just, with the sponsors we have, we don't just shout out their name and go, these guys are great. So we use them too, because they're helping us, and in turn we help them. So it's all about being able to find the people that are better to approach sponsors or to make those calls, that can see what you need and literally find the volunteers. And don't give one volunteer all the work. Like, give them one phone number to call or whatever, and start like that, and then you can sort of start easing them in. And you just give them little tidbits. Everyone's like, yeah, I really want to get involved with this. This is exciting. This is great. You don't just suddenly go, do this, and give them nothing either. Actually give them a plan, give them something to work in, give them a construct. Get that off.
Yeah. One thing actually, just about what you were talking about there, just in general, is when you go to sponsors. A lot of people go to sponsors. They're like, "Here's a really awesome event. Here's the plan for it. It's going to be great." But that's not really what the sponsor wants to hear. They sort of take for granted that your event is going to be amazing based on your record and your history, which you do have to show. But you want to go to sponsors with two things in mind: one, what you want from them, and two, what they will get out of this experience. And that's what Keir was talking about there. Like, we'll talk about how your logo or whatever is going to be plastered all around the event. That's a very big thing. People tend to go to sponsors and not realize how much they need to think about supporting the sponsors. There are rare occasions where you do get sponsors that don't even want their name plastered anywhere, but they want the event to get big because it grows their industry in general. It's very, very unlikely that that's going to happen most times, especially with bigger sponsorships. That usually happens with small things. But yeah, great insight. Does anybody else have anything that they'd like to say about sort of event setup and planning?
Probably to have an objective. You got to have a reason for doing it.
I think just in addition to the sponsorship thing, just to add on, it's like I said before, the totality of it, because you need to, when you're selling it, you only get one shot really, and your first time meeting with a sponsor, you have to be able to sell to an extent that you're going to make them say, like, you're going to make them think in their head, like, wow, this guy knows what he wants, he knows how to do it. And for most people, that's the biggest hurdle, actually, the first time you're meeting a sponsor, because it comes down to you making an impression. Easiest way to start off is just to start getting involved, I guess. And when it comes to volunteers, just to add on again, I think that most volunteers, they want to jump into the deep end, but they really have to start out with just they just really have to start out with, like he said, the tidbits, And even I think that giving someone a phone number to like call a sponsor, that might be already too deep. I mean, like just depending on the person you're giving it to, they might give
phone
you a
call though.
CV. Yeah.
That phone call though, it's not necessarily to a sponsor. That phone call is to find out about like a bar. So you want to, hey, do you have a room?
Right.
What's the capacity? It doesn't. It's I'm not talking about sponsors as far as that goes. No,
Oh,
you
in that
definitely
case,
not
yeah.
put them in a sponsorship position.
Definitely
I
not.
have-
So I got a little confused,
Yeah.
but that something like that definitely that is something that's easy for them to get involved with because they start realizing that like, oh, I should have asked about this when I called them or this or like I should have got a contact. I should have set up a meeting just in case just to see the venue myself. Like even if they make the mistake the first time, like small tidbits you can recover from really easily. And I've got a lot of I've got like a lot of kids, like just like some young high school kids want to set up some university, like I don't know, not university, high school tournaments, and they come and ask, like how, like, can you give me some tips on how to plan this? And I said, well, look, you need to know everything, and you need to know who's going to help you. You need to think about your timing because, my gosh, when planning, timing is the biggest thing you need to think about, boys and girls, because you need buffers. You need to, like when are you going to start? How long is it going to take? And you got to account for one thing that no one ever thinks about: human error. But all this and as well, it's not like your first event is going to get sponsored. The first event is, or maybe even the first 10 events are going to be, investments into what you're putting, efforts you're putting into.
Yeah, it's good to have a
timing
base.
is actually timing is actually a really good point, Ian. I remember us doing a few of these bar crafts and that, and university exams are on. People are like, no, I'm not going out, or a rugby game's on, and there are a lot of gamers out there who are huge rugby fans or cricket fans or whatever, and so they'll be like, no, I'm more interested in watching this. I can record that esports thing and watch it later. That's not a big deal, or whatever, and it's sort of what other events outside of our industry are currently on, because it can absolutely shaft you.
Yeah, that's still a big challenge.
StarCraft 2, the last StarCraft we did that. Perfect example. Maybe there was like 20 people. Luckily we had downstairs, so it was tiny.
Exams.
Yeah, exams.
But you bring up a good point, and it's a point that I don't think is ever going to get solved, because essentially, whenever you do something, there's always going to be something else on. But it's still great to plan things strategically for a certain date, but I guarantee you there will always be something on that will interfere with someone coming for some given reason. But do try to plan it. Like, you wouldn't put an event on during Armageddon. During the time Armageddon was on, maybe at night after Armageddon, possibly. You wouldn't put an event on when exams were running for that region or something. That's just silly. We've learned that. That's an era thing. You wouldn't put an event on when Digital Nations was running. It's just not a thing that happens. Just such a great example. Does anybody else, Victor? What do you think about setup for events and things?
For me, I guess like the main thing that I usually will try and plan it out a bit. I mean, if you have sort of a schedule of when things should be done, it's great. I think as well as that, having some redundancies, just in case things go wrong, they can really help you sort of de-stress. I mean, I guess it's an analogy, but when I go scuba diving, you always know that you've got spare rigs, and then there are always other people there to look out for you to make sure that you don't drown or get the bends or something like that. So having a good support crew is definitely, I guess, key to de-stressing during setup. And
that's actually something that Ian touched on. Manpower, and Kier touched on a bit as well, is manpower and volunteers. It's so hard not to overlook that and not to talk about it, because as they said, easing in volunteers, very, very good way. to get volunteers and to get them being used in things. People do tend to put on a hell of a lot of stress onto volunteers, which is why they don't tend to deliver, and it makes it hard for them to deliver. If they don't, it may be the first time they're doing it. So yeah, definitely use volunteers as much as you can, but give them little things that if they do it wrong aren't necessarily a big deal. They don't blow up in anyone's face, and you can take care of it. Contingency planning is something that Ian touched on, and I'd like to say that I constantly give people tasks with time frames that mean if they haven't done it by the date I've asked them to do it, I've still got time to do it myself. And that's just about timing, as he said, leaving enough room for human error. It's contingency planning. It's great. We're going to move on to just marketing in general, trying to get your event out there and looked at and listened to, heard, joined. It's a big challenge, especially for LANs, for a lot of physical events. Not too difficult for online, but sometimes is because, hey, people could just be playing with their friends. Why would they come and join a random online thing? It's about sociality. It's about the community. What do you guys think in terms of marketing push is important to note?
Being able to actually reach those people. Now with Facebook, it costs money, and it's really not an ideal tool for a community which is relatively poorly funded. And we are. It's very hard to get constant funding, and the events don't bring a lot. We had that one event which we still have money from, the League of Legends one, which has been assisting us in being able to be a bit more stable and offer more. And yeah, as far as money goes, I tell you now, it doesn't go into our pockets. It covers our costs, if that.
Yeah, even if it goes into our pockets, we end up paying for other things as well, so it actually doesn't.
Like, yeah,
Just
paying
funnily
for
enough,
gas.
yeah.
I try to give the volunteers something if I can, because it costs them to come in. But you can't always. That's the part that sucks the most. But as marketing, man, it's hard.
Yeah, that's
It's hard.
something that we probably won't touch in too much on this podcast is monetizing events. We don't really want to talk about that much about it. There are lots of ways to monetize it. Essentially, it comes down to how well you're running the event and how well you're treating the community. They will pay back to you if you're giving to them. It's as simple as that. And you just need to think of ways to ask them to give back to you, because they're willing. But you just need the platform. And one example is donations, very simple. Another example is raffles. But we won't talk about that too much. My sort of views on marketing, I'm just going to sort of say, I'm going to list out all the different marketing things that I've done. I've created, printed out, and cut out flyers. I've created posters, posted them up at net cafes, places like JB Hi-Fi on Queen Street, over at universities, great place to place posters and things like that. Running Facebook posts, events, a page, sharing that around, asking your friends to share around. Word of mouth is, I would think, in this industry, what I've seen anyway, in this industry and with these events, is the biggest thing. Getting someone to like a page and share that to their friends or join an event page, biggest thing to get people to come and join in and to hear everything. And it's hard to invest in, and it's hard to convince people to do that. But if you follow up and you treat those people with kindness and you really push it on them that you want to make this happen, they will give back to you. And again, it's about that give and take with the community. It's a really special thing. So that's word of mouth. What else was I going to say? Email marketing, very big thing. If you just get people to give you their email if they want to when they come to an event, then you've got another contact point. It's brilliant. Another one I was going to say, website listings and websites in general, great for Google searches and things. I've had a lot of people personally come to me, and so has Eden, actually. I've heard a lot of, when they search video games streaming in New Zealand, we're the first two that come up, or we used to be, or he probably still is. Wait. Dominating the scene. No. But that was brilliant because people were searching that and we knew that, and they would come to us. They'd be like, when are events going on? And we'd redirect them to big Facebook pages like LolNZ that were hosting events and that were putting things on. It could let people be notified of everything. It's a brilliant system. So don't underestimate the power of Google and the power of web pages, even small ones. As long as you do a bit of search engine optimization, it works really, really well. Does anybody have any random ideas for marketing that people could do?
Radio,
but that of course costs. But if you have good contacts, radios are great places just to talk. And if you call into radio stations, like you're just saying radio is brilliant. If you call in the radio stations and you just tell them that you're running an event, there are small chances that they will honestly just jump on and say, hey, there's aspect of gaming running this bar viewing at this time, and they'll say that on air, and people will hear it, and it'll be great. It's as simple as calling in and telling them, and that's a lot of what marketing is. I think here is just making the contact with people. So
Yeah,
try and spread your net wide. Spread your net wide.
I think just like you said in the emails, even if you just email the actual media outlets as well, they might come. I know we've been on TV3. We had David Farrier come in and do a piece on us during the Olympics, and that was actually really awesome. It was like the whole of Olympics was on. It was all, so everyone was focused on that. But then TV3 was like, well, we need something to sort of break the standard mold. So they thought, oh, this is a sporting event still, but it's actually something completely different. And everyone was just going off. But and it's because some of our old crew were friends with that guy, but definitely maybe just constantly emailing them, maybe eventually one will get through.
Yeah. Just be very consistent. When you do emails, make a record of it somewhere in some file. Say you've made that email to that person, and then check back in like a week's time if they haven't replied. Email them again and say, "Hey, how's it going? Not sure if you've seen my email." Just constantly talk to them, and they will eventually notice you. They'll shut you up. They'll want to shut you up, and they'll reply to you, and they'll be like, "Okay, I'll do it." Jeez. It's a little bit berating and it's a little bit annoying, but it will get you the good contacts, and it will help you make friends with the people who are important, and it shows them that you're dedicated to what you're doing. It doesn't actually annoy them that much.
Yeah, even if you got the community to assist you.
Yeah,
community is powerful. I think we underutilize it. And we really should be calling on them to be like, hey, contact these guys and be like, you've got to come see this.
NZ petitions.
You've got to come check this out. and just and we'll get noticed more and more, and then they'll be able to get more stuff themselves, and the events will be bigger, they'll be cooler.
Oh, here's a little note from
That'll be
NZPete88. He says there is a fine line between following up and bugging a contact. I do agree with that, but I think it's not about quantity. I think it's about quality. Like you can email them as many times as you need to, and it couldn't be bugging as long as you've got quality emails and as long as you're being nice about it, or just talking about something different. Like if you email them 10 times, don't always talk about the same topic. Maybe say, oh, we've made a new video, check it out here. You might also like our website. It's got an event going on soon. I think I mentioned it to you earlier. And just sort of, I mean, it does depend who you're talking to. I do agree, NZ Pete, and it's hard to tell. But also what you can do is get other people or community people to ask for support for certain events, and that's a bit backhanded, but it does work, and it shows that the community is interested. Like Kia was mentioning, get the community involved. Ian, is there anything different or unique that I haven't touched upon for marketing that you've done for your events?
Okay, wait, can you guys... Okay, you can hear me. Okay, sweet. I think the one thing that I wanted to add beforehand, in regards to radio, they actually brought up my name and LOL and Z on, I think it was My FM.
Oh,
and they were talking about Digital Nations, and they were like, it's hosted and presented by LOL and Z and Playtech, and then the guy running it is Ian Wind, and then my friend told me, and
Peter
I was like,
Hall must have been so happy.
I was like, are you serious? I was on My FM, my favorite radio channel. I was like, oh god, Nate and Nixon, they said my name. But in regards to that, I think in regards to marketing, I think that like I think Facebook is like, it's actually pretty inefficient.
Yeah.
If you're just relying on Facebook, because I mean, like just like Theo said, I mean, like it's word of mouth. Coming down to it, it's maybe even it's about you placing your own brand or your event in the right places, in the right forums. I found that the LOL OCE forums are all right, not as effective as the North American forums because obviously less people in Oceania, but just general New Zealand gaming forums, or even Game Planet, or
gaming forums,
anything. Yeah, any
Reddits,
like anywhere Reddit is another good one. I mean, Oceanic Gaming were at the top of Reddit. My 48-hour stream was at the top of Reddit at one point, and it just comes down to like getting your friends, getting people that support you to help boost up whatever small things you can get boosted up.
Definitely that sharing of the event. If you can ask people to share the event, and then just spam
Absolutely.
the event, just be like, keep posting it every
Yeah.
day, and then
Because-
it'll keep
yeah.
coming up on people's feeds.
Do note though, just with Facebook, I work quite heavily in social media. That's part of my job. Is that Facebook will inevitably die. It will probably evolve into something different, but essentially the Facebook platform will die. And so, of course, as Ian said, don't just chuckle your baskets into Facebook. And as Kia was mentioning, do repeat those events. People get spammed all the damn time on Facebook. Their news feeds are full. And that can say you're part of the problem as well if you're spamming. But it does mean that if you're constantly sharing out those events and liking things and telling people to like things and share, then it will be seen by more and more people because it just shows up in news feeds just randomly. It's a pretty good way to go.
Plus.
Yeah. Hey, Raymond, what have you done differently for the UAV for marketing? Anything sort of unique or interesting?
I'm not really sure, which is ironic because like I was a marketing major,
Yeah.
but like
As you do.
Much
I mean,
fail.
like I'll say, I mean, most of the stuff I've done for UAV has been like the most boring administrative stuff, but like I'd probably say to remember to like leverage your events, leverage what you've done in the past, and also the event itself is also a marketing tool for the next event. So if that event is
Yeah.
good, then hey, like, oh, I just went to this thing, it was great, you should come along next time. Like, that's going to be someone from who went to that event, and that's how these things grow. And I mean, I guess that's just word of mouth again, but when someone has experienced the event, like, hey, it's a lot more credible than, oh, we're just starting out with something, right? So leverage what you've done in the past, I guess, and make sure your events are actually good.
Yeah,
Damn
quality
right.
event and talking to people, and that's what I was saying. Like, when you're at your event, gather emails and things like that, and get people involved and talk to them and ask them specifically where they get event information from and how they'd like it to be delivered, and see if you can just get like their Skype information or their in-game name or something, and just make a friend online, and then they're another person that you can go and talk to and be like, hey, are you interested in this event? Do you think it's pretty cool? And then ask them specifically what they find good about the event, and if they think you should change anything. It starts developing this feedback situation, and then of course they will give back more with sharing and interest in things. They'll become more invested in it. That is quite a good little tactic that you've touched upon. Getting people invested in the event themselves, so it feels like they're part of it and they've made a difference to it. That's big.
That engagement,
Yeah,
as they say.
definitely. That's one thing I'm not brilliant at personally, because I think so inside my head, and I need to look outwards a lot more. But I am trying to adapt all of the aspect of gaming events to be better and easier to access. Easier to access and more interesting to the people that are coming to them, and bringing more of what they want in. But we're trying to go back to square one again, as I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, with doing micro events and just trying to get people to come in for the esports and come in for the LAN, come in to play games and for games rather than for prizes or for interesting random activities that we just throw in there. Those are for big events now. Those are for things that really, really mean a lot to people. But we want people to really get into the games and the esports, and that's a lot of what it's about.
Social.
Yeah, the social. Yeah, that's brilliant. Dom, Victor, do you guys have any random cool marketing ideas?
Yeah, I've got
Not
one.
that I can think of.
That improv.
Awesome. What I was going to say was, I just remember a little while ago around Auckland, around the roller derby, the Red Bull roller derby or something, that they had those bikes all around town, and that really like stood out to me, like that new sort of interesting sort of guerrilla style of marketing, just to make sure that in a way it sort of got away from the kind of the standard bulk marketing, which everyone sort of becomes desensitized to. Like, they see posters everywhere, they see flyers, they see 100 different posts a day on Facebook. But then you notice like something small, like, oh wait, there's a bike, someone stole it. Wait, oh, it's
Wait,
a
it's a
marketing
bike
scheme.
tire. Why is there just a bike tire there? Good old Red Bull.
And I just thought those were
Brutal.
some amazing ideas just to kind of keep. And every time like I go into Kingsland, I was like, oh, there's that bike again. So I kind of actually. Those small nudges, sort of going towards the event, were like, oh, okay, I should probably actually like look up. And I didn't end up going, kind of failing the point there, but still, it made me interested in seeing like, okay, what else can you do with that sort of marketing? Like, could you like put like, I don't know, we're talking about for an event, and maybe for I don't know a Batman themed event, you could do like these small like Joker trophies and like sort of stash them all around town or something like that.
Yeah,
To-
getting
so to
people out
keep-
and about.
to keep that interest and kind of go, oh, what's this? And then kind of
Hell
just
yeah.
perpetuate it.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you what though, with the Red Bull thing, the event wasn't the end game. You know, it was making you more aware of Red Bull. And Red Bull's just a marketing company that happens to have a drink, and that's exactly all they are. And they
Much like
achieved
Coke.
their
That is true.
they achieved their
There's
goal.
another
They made
good
you
thing to
aware.
note, actually. Do not talk down your sponsors in a podcast. Kidding. That's fine. But I do agree with that.
But if I had a webcam here, I would be drinking Red Bull.
Yeah, man.
Incriminating
I'm-
evidence.
I'm actually covered in Red Bull right now.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
I swim in it. I tried to
bathed
apply
in
for
it.
a mermaid's
Yeah.
license type thing with Red Bull instead, but it didn't work. Apparently it's just amazingly energetic.
Yeah. Sorry, what was that, Raymond?
You know, StarTel, my favorite StarCraft team, sponsored by Red Bull.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
All the
Yep, yep.
masters. I want to get something like the Red Bull Battlegrounds going on in New Zealand. That was really, really cool. That's over in America, I think. Brilliant stuff they've done with that, and it's actually incredibly competitive now, and getting incredibly serious. Anyway, there's a point that I was thinking about while you were talking, Victor, and that is, do not close off your community. What that means is if you create an event, it's cool to have inside jokes, it's cool to have little cliques, and it's cool to have little groups of friends. But that does mean if you overdo that, it does mean that when new people come in that don't know anyone, that don't have friends that want to go to that event to try it out, but they're open to going and trying it out, if they come to that event and they feel alone, they feel isolated, then they're just going to completely lose interest. They're going to go back to their friends who didn't come and say, yeah, you're right, it wasn't worth it. So one of my little suggestions, if you're going to host an event, to make it successful and to, as Raymond mentioned, market it for that next event, make it amazing for that next event, is to individually seek out those people that don't know anyone at that event and invite them into games and get them to do stuff. Make them part of that culture and that community. And always do that. Always do that, because again, those people who get isolated, who don't feel like part of the community when they come along, they will go out and they will tell their friends that it was crap and that they didn't get anywhere, that they were just left alone. It's kind of sad. And it's something that has affected me a hell of a lot going to events recently for LANs and things like that. But I am very open to trying to meet new people and go out and try that kind of thing. But a lot of other gamers, they're not. You know, they're very secluded or isolated or don't know how to approach new people in a new setting. So try and help them, ease them into that, and that'll help build your community and build positive word of mouth, which is what we're talking about for marketing.
Indeed.
Indeed. Does anybody have any
Yeah,
other random ideas? I really want to open it up to questions on the floor for Twitch. We'll just let people ask a couple of questions about events in general and running them that we can try to answer. Feel free to answer them to specific people. Continue, guys.
I think that all the ideas and things put forth so far are really good. I think what a good point is that when you have a brand like Aspect of Gaming or the former LoLNZ or whatever, like Oceanic Gaming or Oceanic Esports, you have to turn that entity into a personality, and you have to give. That comes through within like every post you make, the language you use in your posts, the language and images you use in your visual marketing, like your posters and your videos, or even like something like your podcast here, like LoLNZ, for example, never had podcasts. But Aspect of Gaming does. We've seen a lot of serious sort of talk shows like State of the League or some other ones about gaming in general on the main Twitch page, and that gives it a sort of like it affects its essence. It affects how people perceive this brand, and you have to develop and play on it so that when people look at this brand, they see it in a certain way. They don't, you might play it so that they see it like their own child, or they might see it like a bro, or or something that they just completely adore, like a puppy, or like or an Olympian Spartan. I don't know what. Like, it just really depends on how you play on the personality and the image of your brand, and that is probably one of the stronger points in marketing, because, like I said before, it's about first impressions, because it's about your sponsors, it's about the people coming to your events, and it's the people that come to your events give you sponsors, because sponsors, they want people to see them. And when we talk about Red Bull, they don't necessarily want their logo on there, especially in the beginning, but they really want their product being sold to the people there. Not sold, I mean like drunk and like consumed. So you probably can't put a logo there, but you could maybe spread it through word of mouth. Because if you put a logo there, it's maybe too binding, or it could be too forward. It might be against what they want, and you really have to play with marketing, quote unquote, really carefully. But in the end, it's about the image you're going to put out for your brand.
Yeah, basically, just be careful with what you say and how you put it out there.
Learn this the hard way.
I know people have been caught out before by it, and it's not a fun time. I can tell you that. Not that I've had to personally deal with it, but I know it can be shit, and you just get absolutely trashed, and it's not always fun, because you're just trying to, I don't know, make up a wrong, or you're trying to just get this event out and you say something just offbeat, or whatever. And that's the big thing too, isn't it? Just to watch out for, is that sponsors can get very angry with you if you make the wrong approach.
Yeah, and on the other side of it, if you do something absolutely great, they might just start to love you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Heck yeah.
Yeah.
I love it that they love me. In particular.
Yeah. I'm sure everyone loves you, kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They come
A lot
to
of
me in
it's
droves.
about those droves. Yeah, a lot of it's about checking with the sponsors continuously on what you're doing. Constantly keep them updated every development, every step of the way, and they will love you for it, and they'll be able to give you feedback, and you won't make mistakes. Just keep an open communication channel with them. And if it's hard to keep a communication channel with them, ask them how it's easier to communicate with them. And if you try to communicate with them and they don't respond, but they get angry at something that you do, then try to explain that to them, and maybe you just need to move on. Maybe it's just a bit too difficult for them to support you the way that you need them to. That takes a lot of thought and a lot of effort and a lot of time. So definitely think about that. Just leave that on your mind. Dom, I just want to ask you in general, what's it like putting on a LAN? What are the little things that you need to think about for putting on a small-scale LAN? For example, like I know you've had a couple of issues with trying to run different things around the LAN while still maintaining games and hosting them and getting people into them and interested.
Yeah, well, I found like it's not too hard for like small lands, like just with your friends or whatever. But when you start like involving like people you don't know, you start like getting the word out there, and the lands get bigger. You have to really worry about things like, say, if people are bringing their own computers, how are you going to get the games to all the computers in a timely manner, and when the event gets bigger, there's a lot more people that like need help setting up, and you really have to start delegating like all the tasks to other people who are helping out, or make sure you have enough people.
Yeah, it's a tough one, particularly getting games started and getting people organized into games and telling them about those games being on and what opportunities they have. And it comes back a lot to knowing people at the events and making sure that the people who don't know anyone get into games and get involved with the community. It's that I think is the biggest thing to focus on when running it and when dealing with your community.
Yeah.
Now, I want to open up to questions on the floor. I'm going to ignore JDS because he's just been weird. That's right, man. I'm keeping you out of this combo. And sort of opening the questions up to everybody else. Love you, buddy. There was a question from Doomflipper earlier for me that was asking about my thoughts on the turnout for Armageddon Christchurch. And I was also over at Armageddon Dunedin as well. There were fantastic turnouts to those two events. Absolutely fantastic. And Armageddon now are starting to put a little bit more emphasis on gaming culture because they realize it is that little niche culture. It is very nerdy and geeky, but it's also very accessible to a wide range of people, and it's becoming more accessible. Yeah, and it is garnering just such great feedback, and there are such big crowds, and there's more going into it for gaming in the smaller communities. Of course, we know that Auckland is massive for gaming, and there's so much going on for gaming in that event for Armageddon. But for Dunedin and Christchurch, there's not that much, and this year there was a little bit more, and it's just building, and it's showing them that potential. So that's getting bigger, and that really excites me.
Yeah, I think it's the gaming and Armageddon. I think it just has to start catching on. You saw the last Armageddon in Auckland last year, and big Xbox One stand, big World of Tanks stand. That was surprising. I didn't expect them to be there.
Oh, that was massive, yeah.
Yeah, Wargaming was there, and I was like, damn, I know some guys at Wargaming. This is cool. But I played my little one game, and then apparently there was some pro New Zealand World of Tanks player there, but I couldn't tell how pro he was because the tanks were moving at like millimeters a second. But I mean, it was great. I mean, like the gaming industry in New Zealand is really small, and I mean, I think Kier said this before, or it might have been someone else, but our communities and industry is really underfunded, and things like that. Coming from the bigger companies, that's really going to grow the culture itself. And once the culture expands, the industry and, job prospects or whatever, it's expand as well. And everything starts to grow. But,
Yeah, talking a little bit about what you just said there, Ian, about sponsors being scarce and funding being scarce. If you guys, the whole reason we're doing this is that we want to encourage people to put on events, and we want to reduce the number of events that fail or that don't move on to something bigger. Because you know what happens? Random little people jump in and create little events, they get sponsors, and then if they don't plan it well enough, they disappoint those sponsors. And then those sponsors don't want to work with gamers ever again. And that's a lot of what's been happening in recent years. And it's definitely something that we just want to mitigate. And it's something that has been hurting us. There was a little question there, another one for me from the 6C Barazakel, who has asked about how do you keep a balance between getting regulars, keeping regulars entertained and inviting new people into lands and things like that. The balance between regulars and new people. I think the balance is just getting regulars doing something, jumping onto a server and playing, specifically playing something that doesn't take too long and they can jump out at any time, and then talking to the new players and getting them into something that, or getting them into all of those servers that do take a lot of time and that people can't escape from. So yeah, it's sort of about occupying them with something small, getting the new people into something big, and then moving the regulars from that something small to that something big, because they can just do it any time. Like a CSGO match, you just jump out of that and go straight into a different match. It's the kind of thing you can jump in and out of. Yeah, are there any remaining questions? We've sort of got to wrap it up and end the podcast there at that note. Any other thing that anybody wants to add, just very quickly? Nothing. That makes sense. Cool. Okay. That was brilliant little feedback. Thank you so much, everybody. That's my home screen. That was beautiful. Thank you, everybody, for coming on from the University of Auckland Video Game Club, and Ian Wind, of course, himself. Cheers for coming on, buddy.
Anytime, man. Anytime.
Yeah, it's been great having you.
LAN?
Yeah, you certainly can plug your LAN.
UAV is having a LAN this Saturday. I mean, if you're listening to this after What was the date? After the 29th, then
Yeah, then it's gone.
yeah,
Sad face.
then it happened.
Yeah, yeah.
And it
This
was
Saturday.
awesome. And you didn't come, and you should go to the next one.
You totally didn't.
So yeah,
Yeah, but you can find that over there. I've now got that up.
Facebook.com/UAV.
Facebook.com/UA Video Game Club up there on
Yeah,
the screen
yeah.
now. And also follow InWind Enterprises on Facebook as well. Now, for gaming help and events and stuff like that as well, for help with all those events, do contact us or contact Ian. We're two groups that are really, really helpful and really keen to help you start events and get things planned and sorted and started. We'll sort of sort you out completely there. There are a couple of people at Ping Zero that are really friendly that'll help you out as well. A couple of people at the University of Auckland Video Game Club. Just get out there, contact organisers, tell them you're putting an event on or something, and they will give you their knowledge and advice. One thing I do know is that they may be harsh at the beginning. They may try and find holes in your event, but they're doing that because they actually are trying to make you think about things that could bring down your event. And you're thinking, you're trying to be defensive. You're thinking of ways to keep it up and stay afloat and to mitigate all of that. But yeah, we're all here to help the community put on events. Contact us. There's contact details on the stream. If you're watching this via audio or whatever, info.at.apog@gmail.com. Feel free to contact that. And yes, facebook.com/IanWind Enterprises if you want to go talk to Ian. And you can find everything else over on the Aspect of Gaming website for communities that can help you and that you can contact and find. Thanks again for coming, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Just feel free to say goodbye and everything.
Cool.
Raven. Oh god.
Definitely.
Thanks, guys, for coming. Really enjoyed being here, Theo, and here. Hopefully, we get to see more of each other in the future and to work together as well. So, see you guys soon, and thanks for everybody who came to watch, and thanks for the great questions, guys. That's the real key point for me here.
Yeah,
Great
definitely.
questions.
Feel free to keep them coming in, Facebook pages and everything. Keep asking us. It's brilliant.
Yeah, just ask us anything
Yeah.
at all.
Cool. Peace out, guys. Have a good one. Thanks for joining in on the Aspect of Gaming podcast number 2. We'll be back next month. I think we're going to be focusing on gaming servers, how to get them up, how to get them running, and what gaming server networks and people are running in New Zealand. That's sort of going to be the focus next month. If we can get that sorted, hopefully we will. Thank you again. Good night. Bye-bye.
Very well. Bye-bye.
Fare thee well.
You and my friends.